Hello, and welcome to the Fostering Success Michigan webinar series. I'm Carrie Ward, Program Coordinator for FSM. Before we get started, I'd like to take a moment to acknowledge our funders, the Kresge Foundation, the Havermill Foundation, and WMU for making this webinar series and all of our work possible. So today's webinar is going to be something a little bit different from the usual that we do. FSM has partnered with Vireo Labs to promote a fundraising campaign by Indiegogo to develop an app that will match youth with experience in foster care to colleges and careers. We're really excited about this app and the opportunities for connections it will provide both students and campus-based support programs. So today we have Jose Malabo and Wally Holt from Vireo Labs here to give us a live demo of the app and then also to answer any questions that you might have about the app and how it will work. So welcome, Jose and Wally.
Good afternoon. Thanks. Sorry, we were on mute. Thanks for the introductions, Carrie. It's good to be here. I'm going to talk a little bit about what we're doing at large, and then kick it off to Wally to give you a walkthrough of Career, the app that we launched back in January. Thank you for the screen. Is it working? So as Carrie mentioned, the company name is Vireo Labs. We're based in South Carolina. Our first product we released in January of 2017 is a free mobile app called Career. We'll go into that a little bit later, but a little bit about ourselves. My name is Jose. I came out of higher education just prior to this, working for the Savannah College of Art and Design. Wally is our CTO, and our CMO, Chief Marketing Officer, is Ian Leslie, who's not with us today. My background before this was in e-commerce, working at eBay and also LinkedIn and GSI Commerce. I also sat on the board for iFoster, a national nonprofit that works in the foster services space, and a lot of the spirit for what we're doing in terms of building a career product for foster youth really comes from my experience there and my wife's current work with iFoster. Wally, I tell this to people all the time, when Wally's in the room, I'm immediately the 10th smartest person in the room by far. If you've ever shopped on Amazon.com, you probably use some of his engineering. Probably tens of millions of people use it every day. Ian Leslie's got deep higher education marketing experience and really drove a lot of the growth for the Savannah College of Art and Design during my time there and the time before I got there. We've teamed up to address what we think is one of the bigger problems in terms of product searches there is, and that is about 50 million Americans research college really through this filter of the question, what do I want to be when I grow up? And what's new in this generation is most of these queries are happening on mobile. And so we built a solution to help address this problem, to help people find their way. At large, this is a very big market opportunity. $7 billion is almost the size of the U.S. consumer ice cream market. That's how big this is. And unlike that market, this is auto-replenishing. Every generation, as you know, of the next 12th graders are actually larger than the preceding generation. The unfortunate thing is that colleges looking for them do a generally poor job of connecting with these students, and they spend a lot of money recruiting a single student. A four-year private school like mine is spending $2,500 per enrolled student, which on a margin basis for most colleges is actually a net loss. They spend a ton of time on email marketing, which is really ironic because a lot of the students that we work with and the high schools we work with pretty much tell us that most students don't have email on their phones, which is why cost per applicant on email marketing is so expensive. So the problem at large that we're trying to service or solve with Career is that of the 50 million people searching for degree programs every year, about 19 million are going to go. So the demand is there, right? But 8 out of 10 of that demand is really happening on a mobile device, Android or iOS. Like I said, the challenge is only half of U.S. colleges even have a mobile responsive website. And having worked at 3 colleges now in 3 different states, I actually don't think that proportion is going to change. They're just entrenched in a lot of IT issues to ever get into mobile on their own. And I think what's unique to this generation is that we've seen in the Google data that queries for colleges are essentially down, so general college searches are down, while searches for degree programs and majors are up. So people, their logic has changed to a big degree. And as you've probably seen this data with the Lumina Foundation, there's going to be a big gap between people with certificates and degrees in this country. And we really do believe that underserviced and underrepresented communities have to make up part of that gap. Otherwise, we're constantly going to be chasing this chasm. I think to understand what we're doing with our product, that Wally's going to demo in a couple seconds, you have to understand the logic we're now mapping to, because I still think it applies to foster youth. The new logic is that if I get good grades in high school, I can end up going to a good college and get a good job to support the lifestyle that I have in my mind. So it's a lot different. When I went to college in the late 80s, it was more of a destination. It wasn't so much a bridge to a future. It was where I went to figure things out. Students are asking that question much sooner in their lives now, which is why we built Career to be what it is. It is a free, for us, access was a very, very big deal. When Ian and I got out of higher education, we saw the difference between students in certain zip codes having access to certain tools and therefore getting different treatment from a recruitment body like the one we had. So we needed to build a model that was free so anybody can access this kind of research and knowledge. And we had to build it in a channel where the traffic is. I'm going to speak for Wally a little bit, having come out of e-commerce. I think we're at the tip of the mobile generation. I think people think that this is matured. I don't think we're even close to that. It's going to become more and more mobile. It's going to become more and more wearable as time goes on. And we chose chat because after a lot of research, over 2 years of R&D, we saw that, like I said earlier, email is really not the medium for this generation of users, and neither is picking up a ringing phone. It just really doesn't happen. Last time I saw a teenager pick up a phone, I was that teenager. So going a little bit deeper into career, we match people first with career fields using an adaptive vocational profile that we built internally over about a year. We built a recommendation engine within that then connects that person from that career path to a college program based on our inferential algorithm that says this is a good school based on its job placement rates, financial strength of their alumni. And then again, really doing things via chat so that it's real time. We wanted to bridge this connection gap that usually was between 5 to 7 days on a best case scenario of, hey, I'm Jose, I'm 17, I want to go to University of Georgia, please contact me. On a good month, that's 7 days. In a bad situation, that could be upwards of 2 weeks in terms of getting anything from the school. And this next slide regarding our go-to-market, and it's something I wanted to discuss with Carrie and Maddie and the rest of everyone on this call at some point, is how to build a go-to-market strategy for once we build the foster youth version of Career. What we've been doing so far is working with a network of career and technology educators, school counselors within high schools around the Southeast and Northeast, as well as the West Coast over the last year, actually last several months in terms of a launch, and doing search marketing and social marketing. We've concentrated our spend in the Southeast just because this is where we are. However, we've seen growth in over 20 states, and we have relationships with over 50 high schools. In the first few months, we're at 2,500 users, which is starting to even out in terms of Android versus iOS. Early on, we were really, really heavy on iPhones. I think for us in working with, in the foster space, we would have to work more broadly and deeply with organizations like Fostering Success Michigan, the college programs in the Cal State system, as well as our relationships with iFoster to sort of seed this within foster youth and the social system. I think one of the key learnings for me and for Ian in terms of marketing this is that we found the best scale within teens is actually going directly to them, not so much going through their high school counselors. But it's something I think we need to discuss moving forward. But the future of Career, our vision for it has always been about access, and then as we got deeper into this, we really wanted to partner and work within communities that didn't typically have access to this kind of information. So inner city youth and then foster youth, obviously. So our future product plan really does involve that, and that is incorporating data that provides recommendations to foster scholars like yours in Michigan to those. There's actually one or two in the state of Georgia that we have relationships with, and the Cal State system where I graduated from, and including matches for the several hundreds of thousands or tens of thousands of registered apprenticeships within the Department of Labor, and then eventually developing a pathway into military careers, because we've seen that those are the three major pathways of getting into a career. You know, four-year education, apprenticeships, as well as military paths. This is a mocked-up screenshot. I can't say we spent a ton of time on it, but we wanted to show what the next iteration of career can be, of providing someone with a recommendation to perhaps go to the University of Michigan, where I know there's a Foster Scholars Program, and also perhaps render a recommendation to a registered apprenticeship within the state. Wally's I'm going to hand us off to Wally, but if anybody has any questions while we switch over, please ask. Good?
All right, yep, that's good. Hi, so I'm going to take a few minutes here and run through the student user experience on the Career app, and basically give you an idea of how we're matching up students with career opportunities for them, and then helping them find schools to match up with. As Jose mentioned, you know, there's options beyond just school placement that we want to be able to go to in the future, including things like foster care opportunities, internships, apprenticeships, military, things like that. So, but this will give you a good taste for the piece that we have now. And so, when the app is obviously available on the iTunes Store and in Google Play for Android devices. Once the student installs it on there, they can come in through and go through our sign-up process in order to kind of start the ball rolling here. So I'll just create a new account for myself here. And you know, we're only capturing a little bit of information here about the users are going through the process, and some of that to help build a profile when we're communicating with colleges. So the initial stuff really is about basically email address and username. We also provide them the opportunities I'll show to be able to sign up, add some additional information about where they go to high school, when they're planning on attending college, things like that. You start off through a process kind of learning about what the app's all about. Very quick process to kind of get you going. So we kind of step pretty quickly into the career assessment. That's where we take them first before we really tell them much anything else about the app. And to basically create a profile of the interest that the student has. So we built this assessment up working with some leading researchers in the field around interest evaluation. So the Holland system, as well as the strong interest inventory, and combining that stuff, taking a process that traditionally has been hundreds of questions that you go through in order to arrive at a profile for a person. And we took the challenge here as we went into mobile to be able to scale that down into a much shorter process, so that you can capture the attention of students and hold them in it, as well as being able to say that it's statistically equivalent to these larger systems. So we took this assessment, we went through a lot of beta testing with various groups of students, and then evaluated the results of that back against some of the standard models around the larger assessment, and arrived results that basically said we're equivalent to the much larger thing, but we're only using about 30 questions in order to get there instead of hundreds. So it only takes a couple minutes to step through it. I'm going to go through it fairly quickly just to be able to get past it, but essentially what we're looking at first is a way to take and tune the assessment based on some initial questions. And so, you know, based on this, we want to start out with, you know, kind of what the student picked, which one of these items they most like. So I'll just randomly select one here. And then we walk through a couple questions that then put them into a scenario of a job they might be in and which types of activities in that job they like the most. So presented here with a list of possible options, they can take and drag and drop these into the order from most liked to least liked. And we do that for a couple different questions, a couple different scenarios, allow them to step through this piece. And then once we have that information, we can tune the rest of the survey, which actually goes fairly quickly because we're basically showing them a series of pictures and a series of work activities. Do you like or not like these kinds of things? So as we step through these, I'm just going to do this fairly quickly. And you can see it kind of presents you a bunch of different different things that might be of interest as you kind of move into a working world beyond your college. So as we get to the end of that, we're then, as you can see, it was a very, very quick process to get through that. You can imagine that most students we see end up taking, probably 4 to 5 minutes at most to walk through all of that. A lot of that time spent just trying to read through the items. When we originally did it, we wanted to build something that was probably going to take 7 to 8 minutes or better. And that's kind of what we saw when we took it, but students actually are much faster at it than we are. So then, basically, once we've completed that, we now step in and start to tell you a little bit about what we found in your from your assessment. So basically, we identified the person here based on the way I answered it is investigative, enterprising, and the last one, conventional. So then based off of that information, we're able to recommend potential careers to them. You can notice at the bottom there, the recommended option has a little badge on it that shows there's 8 careers that we came up with for the person. If they click on that, then we can walk in and see that there's a series of careers here. Let's say I see business intelligence analyst here, and I want to find out a little more about that. I can click on the info. It tells me a little bit about what the job's all about. If I think that sounds interesting, I could hit the save button and add that into my favorites. If I step back from there, we'll look for a couple other ones here. Let's see what else we got. We got climate change analyst, industrial ecologist, historian. So if we look at historian, see an interesting picture for historian. We can add that to our list of saves. And then if from here we want to find out what schools in the area. So we basically take the idea of using my current location within 300 miles of here, we're going to look at the best schools we think identify with that particular major based off of the algorithm we have of evaluating some mostly publicly available information about schools around graduation rates, loan repayment rates, things like that play into the algorithm to come up with what we think the best 5 are. So from there we can say view schools and allow to look at my location here. And so I see the schools that come up for me in this particular case: Duke, Wake Forest, UNC, Emory, Georgia Tech. And from each of those schools, then I can pull up some additional information if I want to on those. Same kind of thing if I hit the information button here. It's going to pull up information about Duke, information about enrollments and campus settings, median earnings, cost per year. And I can add that into my list of saved items as well for future reference. I think the piece that really differentiates us now from some of the other things that are similar for students, one, that we're obviously on mobile. Secondly, and probably most importantly here, is that we allow a way for the student to connect directly with the school from their mobile device. So if I say chat with school, from this point, I can then go into a chat session here where I want to send, and I can start a chat. So in this particular case, I can then say, okay, tell me about your programs. And so then that text can then be made available to, or not text, but chat message is then made available to the school that I've selected, and someone on that end can then reach back and connect with the student. And so they can get text messages back, which will notify them of that, and they can carry on a chat conversation and then move beyond that. And so this is the piece. I think Jose mentioned that our big piece on this is really in trying to make this type of information available for free to the student. And then our model to do this is basically treating this as a contact for a prospect for the school, and basically charging them for access back to the student in order to sell them on that. I think the benefit here versus some of the more traditional ways of marketing, either through buying lists from like say the College Board or various other avenues like that, is instead of just a list of potential students out there, you've now got very targeted set of students that are coming in where you've already identified based on their interest what type of careers are interesting for them, and that the school that you're being connected with is actually a good school for that choice. And so you have a much more highly qualified prospect than you would get through traditional means. So I think that's the big piece there. I mean, we obviously can go back and deal with, looking at other recommendations that are on here. You can go back into your saved area and see the things that you've put aside there so that you can keep track of that. And you'll get notifications when, if chats come back in while you're not logged in on it. The student, obviously, I mentioned earlier that you can go through and update your profile, including things like high school, college enrollment year. And the zip code in here is the piece that we have right now that allows you to search around in different areas of the country in order to basically target your search. So let's say, for instance, that I'm sitting here in South Carolina, so I got a lot of schools in this area. If I wanted to, say, for instance, actually live up in the Seattle area, then I can update my profile here. And if I go back into my recommendations now for these things, and I pull up Business Intelligence Analyst, the schools that I get now are actually going to be in the Washington area. So you can see Seattle University, University of Puget Sound. So we allow the student to kind of target the area they want to go for, and we have plans in the future to basically give them some finer grain control beyond just a zip code based search. So that essentially covers a lot of where the app is today. We talked about the some of the future areas we want to go into with it, and from there, I guess we can open it up to some questions you guys might have.
Great. Well, I do want to say, I know that there were sound problems. Some of the audience said that they lost sound and got it back, so I just wanted to let everyone know that there is a recording of this webinar, and it will be up on the FSM website following broadcast. And so if you missed anything, feel free to view the recording. The first question that we have, so how do you assign careers to specific personalities?
Yeah, so we have, we tie in a lot of the data from the, iPads at schools. ONET, sorry. Yeah, ONET, which they have a lot of historical data on which, basically which Holland categories. So the, as we saw, we came up with for this particular student, like enterprise and conventional, and those things basically tie back into a set of standard job areas that have good fits for people with those types of personalities. And so we basically are matching into that data based on the results we're getting from the assessment.
Gotcha. Most of the questions that I'm seeing are basically about how the component for students with experience in foster care, how the app that you're designing will differ from the current app. So, like, for example, will it include like campus-based support programs, or like, will it signify which schools and universities have campus-based support programs? Will it signify which scholarships are available? Those kinds of things within the app.
Yeah, let me go up the first one. So we're actually working with you on developing some of those parameters. So we're working. That was our call on, I guess, Monday, and I owe you that. So we're working to build that data set in so we can then identify the information regarding the programs. I know you use the 7 live domains in Michigan, identifying what those services are at a much more sort of micro level, and then putting that into the algorithm, and then basically embedding that into our recommendations engine so that if we recommend a school, it'll be through the filters that we currently have now of best match for that career path and that degree program. But this will supersede that to say, if all things are equal and you've notified us that you're in the foster care system or were, we will recommend the school with this foster services program in it over the one that doesn't have them.
Right.
So it will largely be a back-end thing, but there will be some front-end changes in my mind to make that happen as well. But I think a lot of it, Wally, is sort of below the surface.
Yeah, I think we're leveraging a lot of what we do today as far as how we do matching between the profile for the student and the possible career options in the schools, but we'll be adding in the information around what programs the schools have that are specific to foster students. And so early on in the process, we're going to provide a foster student a way to, or foster child a way to basically enter the fact that they are in the system for that and are eligible for these programs, and then we'll filter down the result set in order to better give them a sense of things that are more helpful to them. So we know that foster kids are kind of already at a disadvantage when it comes to universities, and the graduation rates are really low. So I think the opportunity for us there is really to kind of match them up, show them that there's an opportunity to go to college, and that there's programs out there to help them with that and really match them up very quickly to that. So it's not something they have to go searching really hard to find.
Okay. The other thing that I noticed as you guys were scrolling through the presentation was the chat with the school option. And so out of curiosity, so what are your thoughts about having, like, were your thoughts having youth be able to contact programs, campus-based support programs directly through the chat function, or just the university?
I guess I don't understand. We can make this, our initial sort of idea on this was we can connect you specifically within your program. So CETA Scholars is a great example. So somebody with CETA could staff a chat, it would go to that program, not to general admissions.
Okay, yep, that was my question. That's awesome. Okay, and then another question is, and you kind of touched on this in the presentation, but what are your thoughts about how you'll get the app to the students who need it? So a lot of times, like, programs within universities and colleges don't actually have a way to identify students. That's actually, as programs are developing, one of the biggest questions that programs come up with is, like, how can we find students? How do we know? And there are a couple of different ways. But what are your thoughts about how you'll get the app to the students who need it?
I think we're just in the learning lessons we've had over the first 3 months. I think we have to do at least two things. One is we probably need to do work on Google. I think unless there's something unique in foster youth, among foster youth, that they don't use search to look for jobs or education, I think that's a really natural place to go. And then working through their social or caseworker and school counselors to kind of triangulate, basically getting to the student on their own as well as through their influencers. I think I would probably want guidance on that from people within your programs in Michigan as to who those folks might be. I think for the general population we've been dealing with, the former has been more successful for us than we thought. We actually thought coming into this that the school counselors would be able to recommend and sort of inform to their student bodies to use the app. It really didn't work out that way for whatever reason, that we're actually getting more growth organically than we are through channel partners.
Right.
But I think that's sort of how we look at it now. And then obviously our partnership with iFoster, where they have networks on the West and East Coast and in the Midwest, will be helpful too. I think, I'm a former PR person. I think PR has some efficacy. However, unfortunately, teens don't read the news. So
Right.
We're going to have to use some social media as well. So we've gotten a lot of press coverage in our region, but I can't say it's done a ton to convert downloads. I think it's more really about the school counselors as well as search.
I think that you're right on too about as far as networking. I think networking is key, just because there's like X amount of people who are passionate about this work, and that as we build that network, we advocate for youth with experience in foster care, but then also let them know about things such as this that would be available as a resource to help youth. So I know that FSM is really focused on networking in general, and when you said that, that called to me. I was like, yeah, that's it. It's networking. So, okay. Is there anything else those are all the questions that we have at this point. Do you have any additional information that you'd like to add? Or any contact information or anything like that you'd like to share with the audience?
Well, our general contact information, you can just email either Wally at Vireo Labs or Jose at Vireo Labs with any follow-on questions. I think I just want to thank you all for your time and support on this. I think for us, the learning has been this area of service is one everyone I've met is really, really empathetic with. I haven't met a single person or talked to a single person who doesn't think the work that you're doing is important. I think the challenge for us is finding those that want to be activists around it. And so we appreciate your effort and supporting us as well, because it's few and far between, meeting people that care about it, but then meeting people that care about it and want to do something about it.
Yeah. Well, thank you for your work too. I think that the potential for this app for both the students and also for campus-based support programs and making those connections, it has a great potential, and so we definitely want to support the Indiegogo campaign. You'll see the website that you can access to learn more. There are videos on there, more information about Vireo Labs, and then also ways to donate and get involved. And then, of course, there's our contact information. If you have any questions or feedback, we always welcome that. So thank you so much, Wally and Jose, for joining us today. We appreciate it.
Sure, and I just wanted to add one additional thing to what Jose said as well, too, which was that the people that are listening have ties into admissions departments at the schools that they're associated with. Getting those schools to go ahead and sign up on our platform as well to be able to connect with students would be a great thing. We provide an opportunity there for them to add pictures that are specific to their school, as well as descriptions to help with their marketing efforts. So if they want to go do that, they can hit recruitment.career.us, and that'll. And it's free to get on there. You know, we'll be charging at some point there for it, but basically to set their stuff up, and we'll offer some free prospects for filling out the information.
Okay, that's great. If you also want to send me that that address, I can include it on our webpage with the recording of the webinar. So that way people could access that address if they didn't get it written down. So
we'll send that over. And I think to that point, I wanted to clarify in case it didn't come up in those questions. Our business model, as Wally just alluded to, is to eventually monetize the recruitment side from admissions within general universities and colleges. The matches that would go to a CETA Scholars program or to any of those scholars programs in the country, we will not monetize. That will always be free.
That's great. Thank you. Yes. Okay. Well, thank you so much again for joining us today and showing us the app. And if I get any additional questions, I will send them your way. And you guys have a good day, okay?
Thank you.
Thanks. Bye.